Okay, we're now opening the line for our Q&A session with Money on Mobile. Ticker symbol is MOMT. And for the Q&A today, we have Will Dawson, Executive Vice President. Welcome, Will.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you here. We'll just jump right into the questions. Our first question, Will, you recently announced 2 new members to the board of directors for Money on Mobile. Can you tell us who they are and what led to them joining your board?
Sure. We're excited about both of them joining. The first one, Kay Bailey Hutchinson, former U.S. Senator, served on the U.S. Senate for 20 years. Very excited about her joining the board during her time in the Senate. She spent a lot of her efforts focusing on women and financial empowerment. And so excited about having her help us and address that market and bring her expertise to the board as we bring our services across India. And then the second is Carl Power. He's a longtime follower of the company, well-connected banker. As we're a bank-friendly model, we wanted somebody on the board who could help us make sure that we're speaking their language. And Carl brings a breadth of experience around that. So very excited about having both of them on the board and helping us move this business forward.
Thank you, Will. Great additions to the team. Our next question, in the interview we just watched, you talked about getting a larger share of your customers' transactions. Why is this an important part of your business growth?
Sure. So today, we focus on the retailer and making our retailers happy. So consumers are coming into our retailers, and the more that consumer spends at that retailer, either doing an additional utility bill payment or a domestic remittance transmit or loading their bank account or making a purchase, all of that generates revenue for our retailers. And the better our retailers do, the better we do in terms of revenue. So our goal is to attract new service providers onto our platform so our retailers can offer it to their customers and allow that retailer to earn more revenue on every customer that then walks into that store.
Very good. Thank you, Will. Our next question, your deal with a major Indian utility in late March looks like a great success in growing that share of customer transaction. Can you provide us a little bit more details about this relationship?
Sure. Those are 2 great additions to our network. Both utility providers. One's got over 1.6 million customers that they service, and the other one's got over 2 million customers that they service. And so now those customers no longer have to go travel across town, wait in a line at a bill payment center, and generally having to take a day off of work. I mean, a lot of the workers in India are on an hourly basis, and so when they have to take off work, that means less pay for them. And so now those customers of those 2 utilities can go downstairs in their building or go around the corner to their local convenience store to pay those bills. So not only is it easier for them, they have another day of every month that they can work, right? So that's additional revenue to them. And they also then don't have to pay the travel costs of going across town to those bill payment centers. And then for our retailers, like I was saying, it provides them another revenue opportunity. Now our retailers in those areas can service those customers and potentially upsell them to other products. So if they come in to do a utility payment, that retailer may get them to be able to do a domestic remittance there and earn additional revenue off of that customer coming in and providing a convenience to their neighbors. And also, it's a good example of how this business got started. So the original concept was one of the founders was at home and his electricity got turned off because he wasn't able to take that day off to go pay his bill, his electric bill. And so then he had to scramble and go pay the bill. And he thought, God, there's got to be a better way. And this is just continuing it. So we provide these types of services for over 75 different service providers across India. And these are just 2 more that we plan to add this quarter and hopefully continue to add more in the future.
Great, Will. Yeah, that sounds like a great addition to your service portfolio. And our next question, there's been a lot of M&A activity in the payment space recently focused on underbanked populations. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about the trend, what it's all about, and how it aligns with Money on Mobile?
I think the 2 big ones that people may have seen, one was by PayPal here in the U.S. They made an acquisition of a company called TIO Networks. TIO's got around 70,000 locations in the U.S. where the underbanked in the United States can walk in and pay their bills. And according to MasterCard, the population of the underbanked in the U.S. is about 70 million people. So that shows kind of PayPal's moving out of the traditional banked customer segment and putting a lot more focus on the underbanked segment in the U.S. to be able to service them. And just like MoneyOnMobile, TIO allows people to walk into a local convenience store to pay their bills or top up their mobile phone. It's a very similar type of service to what we're doing in India, where TIO is addressing 70 million people. We're addressing over 600 million people across India. And then I guess the second thing that people may have seen recently in April, Amazon launched an Amazon Cash service, again, targeting these 70 million people in the U.S. that don't have a credit or debit card but want to shop online. So now you can go into a participating CVS store and a couple of other retailers and hand over cash and have it appear in your Amazon balance. Then you can make a purchase online. So that's, again, addressing this underbanked segment. And in India, e-commerce is growing quite rapidly, and people are needing a way to make payments. Like I said, there's 600 million of these people without a bank account or underbanked, and they want to be able to participate. And so we've started to do deals in the e-commerce space where a consumer can walk into our stores and perform an e-commerce transaction if they don't have an internet connection at home, or if they don't have a credit card, they can now come into our stores and be able to buy online and participate in that e-commerce revolution that's happening in India.
Sounds like a great opportunity, a very large market opportunity. Our next question, Will, some of the mobile wallet digital payments providers in the space are hoping to actually replace the need to use traditional banking services. Is MoneyOnMobile in that same type of position? Is that the ultimate goal, is to replace banks?
I think MoneyOnMobile is actually at the opposite end of that, right? We work with over 11 banks in India. We're really their last mile provider for their customers. In January, for example, when the government took out 86% of the currency, when they were trying to fight corruption and replacing that currency with new notes, that we worked with these banks to allow their customers to come into our shops and do withdrawals of their funds from the banks. And as a data point for people, India's got around 200,000 ATMs, but with a population of 1.3 million people, they really need about 2.2 million. So they're lacking 2 million ATMs in the country. And so now we're working with the banks to allow customers to use our retailers as mini ATMs. They can walk in and get the access to the cash that they have stored in their bank accounts. And thus really providing a service to the bank so that they can expand their addressable market without having to build all that infrastructure, and kind of addressing that gap in the market of 2 million ATMs that are lacking. So to sum it up, we're really a bank-friendly type of model. We try to service the banks with products that they want to then offer their customers, and really be that last-mile provider for those banks.
Sure, makes a lot of sense. Our next question, in the video interview that we watched earlier with Harold, he mentioned velocity of money as a key growth driver for MoneyOnMobile. Could you maybe explain what that means and how that helps you grow the business?
So velocity of money relates to how fast cash moves through the system. So we are a cash-to-digital network. Consumers walk into our stores with cash, and our retailers are digitizing that for them. They take that cash, put it into the consumer's wallet on their phone as a digital form of cash, and allow the consumer then to do transactions. So the faster that we can take that cash from the customer and get it digitized through the system, the faster we can run, and we call that the velocity of money. So prior to our launch of this ATM product in January, we were pretty much waiting on the retailers to take that cash they collected from their customers and then go to a bank and make a deposit into MoneyOnMobile. So on a typical retailer, they were doing that once a day, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Now, when we're doing cash out services, we can greatly increase that because the cash that comes in from one customer for paying a bill or topping up their phone is now going out as cash when a consumer does a cash out, a mini ATM transaction. So instead of our retailers having to wait to go to the bank at the end of the day with all the cash they've collected, now they can actually sell that cash, if you will, to people who need access to cash from their bank accounts, and thus increasing the flow of cash through the system. And we've already started to see this with our agents that are doing cash out, that they are effectively doing many more deposits in a day with us and therefore are able to process more. And as our agents can process more, that means greater revenue for us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Will. And a lot of great information we just covered here in the Q&A as well as during the interview earlier. I guess in summary, what's the key takeaway for investors? Why should they be interested in Money on Mobile today?
Well, first of all, India is the new hotspot. You see investors who were chasing China now putting a lot of attention on India. As a data point, Amazon's committed to spending $8 billion in India to build out their e-commerce business. But e-commerce in India, like I said before, is kind of hampered by the fact that not too many people have access to credit or debit cards. So that's a great opportunity for us because we can be that last mile provider for people like Amazon or the local companies like Flipkart or Snapdeal. And as well, you've had this huge push by the government to digitize money, and therefore we have a nice push from the government to help us, right, in terms of a good regulatory environment to push digital transactions out to customers. And so you're seeing a rapid growth in consumers' adoption of these digital transactions. So, I think from an investment focus, there's lots of attention on India, and then from a product fit, right, we have a good regulatory environment in which to grow our business and really provide that last mile service to over 600 million people in India who are desperately trying to, get access to e-commerce and get access to a better life by having digital transactions.
Thank you, Will. Very compelling value proposition. For our viewers, we were just talking with Will Dawson, Executive Vice President of Money on Mobile. The ticker symbol, again, is MOMT. It trades on the OTCQX. Again, this was Will Dawson with Money on Mobile, the Executive Vice President. Ticker symbol, again, MOMT.